Thank you for coming on time. We'll begin in just a few minutes.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first town hall in a series of 4. This town hall will be about the elementary school, grades K and 1. If you are in grade 2 and you have joined us, I welcome you, but I think it would be much more beneficial if you would come back tomorrow evening, where we will talk about 2 to 5. As I said, you're always welcome to stay, but tonight we're going to really talk about K and 1 and what it's going to look like for the upcoming school year. So I'd like to just give a hello to, first of all, to all of the returning staff and to my fellow administrators and to the parents and families whose names and faces I see here. And of course, I would like to give a special welcome to all the new families who have decided to join the Hebrew Academy family. I think you've made a very, very wise choice. So I'd like to just turn this over for a moment to Rabbi Shaya Gutenberg, who's the head of school, and then I'll proceed forward with our presentation.
Good evening, everyone. It's so nice to see you. I think you've heard from me last week about every aspect of the school, but it's really a pleasure to see you. I look forward to hearing the presentation. As always, if you have any questions or concern, please reach out. But welcome to this town hall. There will be a series this entire week. Kindergarten and first grade tonight, second and through fifth grade tomorrow night. On Wednesday night, it's middle school, and high school will be on Thursday. So thank you again, and looking forward to hearing your presentation tonight, Debbie, Beth, and...
Thank you. Okay. So I'd like to start by highlighting what our mission statement is. Those of you who have joined us for the first time, this might be the first time you're seeing it, but I think it really encapsulates not only what we hope to show you tonight in K and 1, but the entire Hebrew Academy School. It is really important that you know that we venerate Torah as well as secular learning, and our goal is to inspire each and every student to inspire the world. So who am I? There I am. So I came here from New York about 4.5 years ago. I was an assistant principal at Magen David Yeshiva and worked with many people from Ramaz and other cutting edge Hebrew day schools. And right now I live in Surfside with my husband, and I also am a member of the Young Israel of Bal Harbor. So as you can see, although I don't have any children or grandchildren in this Hebrew Academy, I'm fully entrenched in the Jewish community and, of course, fully committed to the highest quality education for our school. Just as an aside, my own children attended the Hebrew Academy of Nassau County, and I have grandchildren who are presently students there. So I guess you could say we are truly a Hebrew Academy family. We have something very exciting with the hashtag HAConnectED. And as it says, whether you're on campus or online, you can connect. And by accessing this hashtag, either in Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, you can always find out more information about the Hebrew Academy. And these are some of the things that you can learn about when you go to this hashtag. I'm not going to read it all. I know that you can read. I'm not going to be reading my slides tonight. I'm going to be talking about them. So if you want to just give it a moment to read it over, and I will be touching on almost everything that's on the slide throughout the presentation. When I was looking for a quote to open this meeting, I saw this from George Kurios, and I want to just share it with you because I think it really says about what we're looking to do for this coming year. It says, open your eyes and your heart and see the possibilities, and through them, the opportunities. If you don't see one yet, you need to take some initiative and find one for yourself. Challenges become opportunities. We're all living through a time of great challenge, but I will tell you, working with the administrative staff and surely working with the most incredible elementary staff, we are looking for opportunities. We are looking for times and ways to make the learning experience for our elementary students one of excitement, highlighting curiosity, and keeping their Torah as well as their secular knowledge on the highest level. So one of the things that people might ask is, why should I send my children to the school? So it says many reasons there, but I'd like to also tell you a few others. Our school is in existence for 73 years. Now, although probably no one who works at the school right now has been here all 73 years, it's possible that some of you might be grandparents of, or I'm sorry, might be children of people who went to the school, because our first graduating class, they were grandparents already. So the school's been around for a long time, and we have long established relationships with students and families. We are very connected to Israel. We even do a special day in our school called Yom Sahal, where we honor the IDF and members of our staff who have been part of it. So it's very important that you understand that we're always looking to meet the needs of students and families. We want to keep up always with the latest educational trends. And as one of my teachers so aptly said, we're not just educating children, we're educating the neshamas. And that's a really important part of who our Hebrew Academy Elementary School is. So one of the things that we talk a lot about in education is building relationships. And they say that people don't remember what you taught them. They remember how you made them feel. And a relationship is how you make someone feel. And building a relationship with our students and our families is most important. So before school will actually begin, which is August 24th, which I'll talk a little bit more about a little later, we're going to have opportunities for students and families to meet with the entire grade, the class, small group, and individual and new students will be meeting too. All of these meetings will take place in a remote way. We don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable, and we want to be able to fuse together the virtual as well as the in-physical students. So that's how these will start. Also, it's important that we want students to see each other without a mask on and to see their teacher without a mask on. So these are some of the things that we're planning, and stay tuned for more specific dates and times, but it will be coming up shortly before school.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I wanted to introduce myself to the new families that have joined us tonight. My name is Rena Rabevsky, and I am the school psychologist at Hebrew Academy Elementary School. Welcome, everybody. We're glad you're here, and we welcome you to the Hebrew Academy family. So my role at Hebrew Academy as the school psychologist might look a little bit different this year, but in general, I'm here to help provide social and emotional support to all of the students, parents, families, teachers, and administrators. So that includes all different kinds of supports. I work with students individually and in small groups. I do social emotional learning in the classroom, and then general social and emotional programming, as well as parent workshops, crisis intervention, behavior support, and really anything that students need at school, and especially to help new families with transitioning to the Hebrew Academy. So we look forward to all of you joining us. I also wanted to tell you about a website that Dr. Susie London and I created. Dr. London is the psychologist in the middle school and high school. So if you go on the Hebrew Academy website, you'll see that there's a link to our special site with lots of resources for parents, for parenting, for managing anxiety, and for helping students through the challenges that they've all been experiencing. So I look forward to welcoming all of you and helping your transition and supporting you in any way I can. So if you'd like to touch base before school starts, you can reach out via email, rrabowski@rasc.org. I look forward to welcoming all of you in person and to welcoming back students from years past as well. So enjoy the rest of the evening and can't wait to talk soon.
Thank you. So I want to talk a little bit about the design of the day, schedules, and kind of what it's going to look like at school. Our goal is for students to have the most comfortable, safe environment. And with that, we want it to be an environment where children are able, whether they're in school or they're accessing us remote, to have a full experience. And to that end, we have developed schedules that perfectly align. So whether your student is coming, where your child is coming to school on August 24th with the rest of the early childhood, kindergarten, and first grade, or you're going to be accessing us remotely, the schedule will be pretty much the same. And we'll be following, I'll go into more detail a little bit later on how that's going to work. Also, it's important for you to know that the schedules are consistent. When we did virtual learning in the spring, we were learning as we were doing it. And I think that the staff did a really wonderful job, but you always can do better. And one of the things that we did to make it better was to make these schedules more aligned, more consistent, and more continuity. It's important for you to understand that these schedules were designed with children in mind. So of course, the schedules do include core subjects, things like Ivrit and English reading and math and science and social studies, but it also takes into account that students in K-1 are really, after 5 months, just getting used to coming to school, and they're young. And we want to be very, very aware of that, and the schedule will reflect that as well. When students are in school, in the physical school, they will have to wear a mask, but we will make many, many opportunities for students to either go on the patio or to go to outside spaces, or we actually have an extra classroom in the kindergarten and the first grade wing that students can work with teachers in. This way they can be socially distant, and they would still wear a mask in the interior spaces, but when they go outside, there would be more opportunities for them to go without a mask. They also will have PE every day. That would be an opportunity where they can go without a mask as well. So it's important that you understand that these mask relaxed zones will exist. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about 2 words that you might have heard a lot about, and maybe you're familiar with them and maybe you aren't. The words are synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous classes are live. They're in real time, and it's like a Zoom. An asynchronous class is something that's recorded. Maybe it would be something that the teacher records with like a Screencastify before, or they might send out a brain pop, or they might have the student access something from the math program. These recorded classes are wonderful because students can access them at the time that works for them. And that's a really important thing. Students who are physically in school and students who are remotely can access these asynchronous classes. Also, all Zoom classes will be recorded as well. The other term that's on here is a flipped classroom. And what that is that many times teachers may assign something for children to watch at home. And this way, when they come to school, They're more prepared for what the lessons are. And when I say come to school, I should really say attend school in the way that they attend it. It's also important to know that classes will be held as whole class, small group, and one-to-one. They say that children in kindergarten and first grade, their attention span is probably not more than about 5 to 10 minutes. So there won't be long whole class meetings. There will be times that there will be whole class meetings, but more often than not, we will break them into small groups. They'll have breakout rooms, and they'll have opportunities to work with teachers or independently on their own schedule and their own time. And it's important to understand that when I'm talking to you in K-1, I want you to know that we really understand the social emotional component of these young children. In kindergarten, they're coming to us from preschool, which is wonderful, especially if they've come from our preschool. I'm sure wonderful if it's come from any of the schools you've chosen, but it's a different kind of day. In preschool, in our school, they have one teacher for general studies and one teacher for Judaic studies in the same room. Here, they move back and forth. So that's very different. The children that have been in our kindergarten know that, so when they go to first grade, but it's still a different experience. Our expectations are different, but our teachers are experienced. All of them have many years of kindergarten experience and first grade experience, so they know what a child in this grade looks like and should be like. And that's why also Mrs. Rabowski is here to help us deal with many of the situations that we may come upon. This is a copy of a suggested schedule for kindergarten. And if you notice, if you're in school or if you're accessing remotely, this is what your day might look like. You would start with tefillah, you would have PE, you'd have some type of break. Capit is a Hebrew program for learning the letters with sound visual recognition. And it's based on an Orton Gillingham program, which is very much like Foundations, which is the English reading program that we use. So it uses a very similar methodology. Chalav V'Dvash is also a Hebrew program that we use, and then children would have a break. Then they would do work about the Chagim, about the Parsha. In kindergarten in particular, they do a beautiful Parsha scroll. They have Shabbat parties. They have all different, which again, we'll go into more, but I just want to give you a little bit of an overview. That would be a morning. And then in the afternoon, after lunch and a transition, they would have their general study subjects of math, a break, ELA, newsomatic science, social studies, and a learning center rotation. Now, you're looking at this schedule. This is for a section A. There's also the other half of the kindergarten or the other half of the first grade would be a section B, and they would be completely flipped. They would have their general studies subjects in the morning of math, ELA, newsomatic science, social studies, and then they would have their break, and then they would have their Judaic studies things, their Judaic studies subjects of Capit, Chalav V'Dvash, Chagim, and Parsha. And the reason we did it this way is we felt the group would be smaller and much, much more manageable. Okay, I've put up a couple of the grade specific events. All of these things are things that happen either in kindergarten or in first grade. They've happened in the past, and we plan to have them happen for this year as well. Of course, we have the extra challenge of figuring how to do it in a virtual way, but we will. Many of these things, for example, like the Shabbat parties, we had a Shabbat assembly every Friday, every week once we went remote in the elementary school, never missing a week. We actually had our year-end SEAMs, not only in kindergarten, but in third and fifth. And many people actually said they loved the remote SEAM because many of their family members who were really far away were not able to come if it was an actual school event in a physical school. So that was really wonderful. Of course, things like a Pesach Seder and things like Yom HaAtzmaut, a lot of special events for Israel are all really embedded in the kindergarten and first grade day. So I want to talk a little bit about what the virtual school experience will look like. Students who will come to school on the 24th, they have an idea physically of what school might be like. But those of you who are going to access school in a virtual way, and you are welcome on the 24th to start virtually and to continue for as long as you feel comfortable. And that I will leave up to we'll be available, and I'll explain how we will be available. I want to explain a little bit about the virtual school experience. As I explained before, we had some practice at the end of last year, and a lot of the things we got right, and some things we needed to tweak. So some of the things that we've done for this year that will make learning even more accessible. We've invested a tremendous amount of time, energy, and money in putting cameras and microphones in every single classroom throughout the kindergarten, and I believe all the way up to grade 12, but I'm going to talk about K-1 right now. And the teachers will be able to access students through a large TV in the back of the room, as well as through Zooms, but the students will be able to access the class and the teachers through the cameras and through the microphones. Also, I wrote here the use of LMS. So LMS are learning systems that we're using in K-1, and actually we're using in 2 also, something like a seesaw, where students who are remote can submit their work and have the work evaluated in real time. That was one of the things that we had to tweak a bit, how students who are not actually physically in school submitting their work. And in a little while, Beth Landesman will talk more detail about Seesaw. Also, we noticed that students, especially in K-1, really need a lot of small group instruction, and the small group will be with the remote students and integrating the physically present students as well. Some materials might have to be printed, so there are times that things will be distributed to remote students in advance. There are packets at times. I know, for example, last year, one of the things that we gave out were the Haggadahs. Those are certain things that we could send to you, and if you have a printer, of course you can print it, but we want to make everything as accessible as possible, so we will arrange for times for students to be able to pick up packets, and we'll give you all that information. The other thing that's important about a virtual school is connecting socially. And when we do our small groups and when we do our meetings with students in the virtual school experience, social interconnection will be promoted and prioritized, and we are not going to forget about them. And we hope they will not forget about us and kind of wander off as well. So one of the things that I'd like to talk to you about are the data collection drives and the personalized learnings. Now, in our school, we have always been, or for me, at least as long as I've been here, we've been a blended learning school, which means we integrate meaningful technology into our learning. It's not technology for technology's sake, it's technology so students can access information, can work at their own pace. Many of the things that we use are adaptive. It can also give a tremendous amount of data to teachers who normally would have to keep the record themselves and organize it. Well, these particular systems that I've highlighted here does that for the students as well as for the teacher. RAS Plus and Go Math Personal Math Trainers are two learning systems that we use. RAS Plus is for reading, Go Math Personal Math Trainer is obviously for mathematics, and in Judaic we use Capit and we use iTalam. And we can talk more about the substance of these, but I know that this slide gives you a little bit of an overview or a broad stroke of what this is. We also use programs, many other programs that are used in the K-1 grouping. We use Newsomatic, we use BrainPop. We're hoping to implement Mystery Science and Tinker, but those are all things that are, as we say, coming down the pike. We want to get students first set up and being able to access things in a meaningful and in the most comfortable way. So this is a little bit of an overview and a taste of what that will be. I'd like to highlight Beth Landesman and give her the floor at this time.
Hello, everyone hear me? Okay, great. Hi, everybody. My name is Beth Landesman. My 6th year as an employee of the Hebrew Academy. As a blended learning coordinator, my job is to collaborate with teachers in creating effective technology-infused content-based instruction and support them as they implement these lessons in their physical and virtual classrooms. I will also be hosting training sessions, producing video tutorials for parents and students on various online digital tools and platforms that will be used in the classroom this year. So the first one I want to kind of mention, which Debbie brought up before, is Seesaw. So Seesaw is a digital portfolio and learning system where teachers can create meaningful multimedia experiences for students. Teachers assign tasks that engage students in a variety of assignments in the form of videos, photos, text, images, files, voice recordings, and drawings. Teachers follow up by approving these posts, reviewing content, and providing feedback. Seesaw empowers students to create and reflect and collaborate and share. It allows for family members to use the Seesaw app to keep up to date with their child's learning and easily communicate between home and school. And our next program that we will be implementing is Clever. So Clever is an easy way for students to log in and learn with various online programs that they're using in school. With their own personal portals, students can learn with resources selected by their teachers. Schools use Clever so students can have their digital resources in one place. So Clever also eliminates the need to remember multiple usernames and passwords. So I look forward to being in touch with all of you, and feel free to reach out to me with any questions.
Thank you, Beth. I'd also like to say that Beth has been very, very helpful over the last couple of months, helping teachers navigate through a lot of this, and she is a wonderful resource, very patient, very understanding, and very knowledgeable. So I want to give you a little glimpse into another part of our school and our program is the AEP program, the Academic Enhancement Program. And as you see on this slide, it's Enrichment, Resource, Mechina, and ESOL, English as a second language. And Rachel Lubitz, who is in charge of the program, will be staying on after the town hall. And if you have specific questions about AEP, she will be more than happy to address them and answer them for you. One thing that I would like to just point out is that a program that we had offered in school called Zaniac, we have just received confirmation, will be able to be offered in a semi-private and private way. And Rachel will talk much more about that particular program. So that's something I wanted you to know about. So here you see a picture of Rabbi Avi Weberman, our Judaic Studies coordinator. Now, those of you who know Avi Weberman, he normally would be here, but I would say he has a really good reason for not, because 2 days ago, he and his wife welcomed a new little baby boy. And although we had a picture of the baby originally on the slide, we thought it might be more professional for you to see him because the baby will not be attending school. So if your child is in 5th grade, he is the Rebbe, but anyone who is involved in the elementary school and the Judaic Studies department will be meeting with and have opportunities to interact with Rabbi Avi Weberman. And it is a pleasure to be able to work with him. When I put this picture up, which is one of the last things, it really gave me pause because it's actually a picture from the very first day of school of orientation last year. And it's a picture of the elementary staff. And what I think it's really important for you to note is a few things about it. One, it's a picture of a group of people who are the most dedicated, most caring, most professional group of educators I've ever had the privilege to work with. And I have worked in many other schools. The other thing you should know is that this picture is around a kosher food bank donation box. And it also speaks to the nature of the teachers. The teachers are always looking to do chesed, to help, of course, to help families in an educational way, but we also feel it's really important to be connected to the Jewish community, and we did that in this picture. So I'd like to just say that I really appreciate you coming. I hope that our overview tonight was one that gave you a little bit of a taste of what the elementary school experience will be. A few last minute things I would like to share is that maybe some of you have seen an email, but if not, I'd like to clarify some things that were in the email. The Hebrew Academy of Miami will be open on August 24th. It will be open for all students to access it in a virtual way from K to 12, but in a physical way in early childhood and K-1 as well. K-1 students can also access in a virtual way. So August 24th is the target date that you should look for. I want to let you know that I look forward very much to working with you, to working together, and I know that our students will flourish with the staff and with the families that we have. So I'd like to thank you for coming. If you have any specific questions, you can send them into the chat, and okay. Somebody asked me the number of students in the kindergarten. That's a great question for Amy because it changes all the time. Right now on the registry, we have a little over 20, but it changes all the time. New people are coming and they are looking to join us. I see a question. Okay, the virtual seesaw is geared towards K-1 students that can't read. So I'd like maybe Beth, you could answer a little bit about seesaw and how students can access it if they can't read. Because actually that's not just something that's specific for seesaw, that's specific for any work that students in K-1 would receive.
Sorry, I want to answer the question. Can you just repeat it? Because I don't think you read the
Sure.
whole question, so I can answer it.
Is the virtual platform Seesaw geared towards K-1 students that can't read yet on their own? Or will parents have to help them with the online platform?
That's a great question. So one of the reasons why I love Seesaw and I'm a big advocate for Seesaw is basically that is one of the things we were thinking about. And what it does is teachers can give written instruction as well as record instruction. So the child can just click play and listen to the instructions, and as well as kids answering, completing their tasks on Seesaw, they also can record their answers as well. So even if they cannot read, so if they can't read, they can listen to instructions. They can also record their answers. So for example, K-1 specifically, when they're even learning how to write, they can record what they wrote. Just in case the teachers can't necessarily understand what they wrote or their work, they're able to record it as well, so that you have both of those, they're able to write as well as record.
Okay, thank you. Okay, a very interesting question came up, and it's a question that I've been wondering too. So I'm going to tell you the question, and I'm going to tell you the answer as I know it the best. How many students will be starting off virtually? That is a really great question. Right now, I don't have an exact number. I know that in every grade there are some, but I am waiting because it really impacts the way we set up the physical classroom. So I want to just I want to address that also, even though I don't really see a question about it. The team in our school has been working diligently with the medical team to be able to set up every classroom, kindergarten, let's say through 5. I'm only talking about elementary right now, but I'm sure it's all the way through with appropriate social distancing. And there are classrooms that will hold, depending on its size, between 12 and 14 students for learning. The desks will be they will be spaced appropriately, and the desks will all be facing the same way. I don't know how many. I wish I knew because that would help us. I hope to know for sure by the time August, let's say 17th comes along, because I want to be able to have my teachers, know as well. As a question, can the school help? Yes, set up digital devices. So yes, we definitely can. And I know that that is something that Sal and the Solid team will be able to help you with. And I'm going to have them be able to reach out to the elementary parents, because one of the things that's really important is that students have accessibility. And I don't know necessarily that I can expect, students and families to be able to do that on their own. Maybe they can, but if they can't. I'm getting a lot of questions about how many children are in the class. So I want to tell you that I'm not trying to avoid the question. I'm going to tell you that I just don't know, because the registration is fluid. I can tell you that there has been a tremendous amount of interest from people who don't even live in Florida yet. They're coming to us. Some of them are going to come physically into school, and some of them are going to access us remotely. So I'm not trying to avoid your question, but I just will tell you when I know, I will share that with you. Someone asked how we're going to be able to transition kindergartners if parents can't come to school. That is a really interesting point. So it's something that we're discussing, if there would be any possibility of any kind of an orientation where parents would be able to come, but I want to ask you to please be patient. We are waiting. These kinds of things change day by day, and we'll take our lead from the medical community. I want you to know that we really understand, especially for K-1, how kids and families are so interconnected and are used to coming to school with each other. So it's something that we're going to work on, and we will definitely, it's on our list of things to deal with. Okay, so it says something about if a child is only virtual, how can teachers accommodate both? Well, in kindergarten and first grade in particular, we have 2 teachers in every room. So that's one way. Another way is a lot of the learning will be with something called station rotation, where teachers will rotate with small groups. So in that way, virtual students will not be forgotten. Also, there's going to be a TV screen on the back wall or on the side of the kindergarten and of the first grade room. And the teachers will see, as if you can imagine it's one giant student, but it's many little compartments. And the teachers will be able to see if a child's hand is raised, or of course the child can always come into a Zoom and they can tell the teacher they need more help. Teachers are going to be very accessible to students. And the reason we have the cameras and all of that set up in K-1 is so that students can be part of the experience, that they don't have to feel that just because physically they're not in school, that they're not part of school. Someone asked a beautiful question, and I want to just share that. And it came from a parent who's Hebrew Academy parent, and I'm almost not surprised. And what they said was, can we set up a Zoom with the parents, let's say of just kindergarten or just first grade, so we can meet each other? And I think that is a fabulous idea. And we will definitely put that in our list of things to do. You don't have to organize it. We will help to organize. If you'd like to be the point person, that would be great. But it really speaks to the fact is that we're not just here for your children, we're here for your whole family. And it really is important that parents get to know each other and get to appreciate who the parents are of the children in the class, and really just get a focus on just who are they and what they look like and where do they live and what are they about. And I know that many, many friendships that parents have throughout the years are based on the friendships they've developed through the friendships of their children. So many times if let's say your oldest child is in kindergarten, many times, even when they're in 4th, 5th, 6th, the friendships continue. So I want to thank that particular mom for asking, and it's definitely something that we will work on doing. I'd like to ask, I don't see any other questions. I don't, okay, I see a question. Okay, it's asking about social distance protocols and children being able to move around. So it's a very important part of what we're going to embed in the schedule, and the teachers will be working with students. Sometimes it may mean that they'll have to go outside. In kindergarten in particular, they have the extra outside space. They have those patios they can go to. Also in the beginning, because we have a staggered physical opening, there are more places that people can go to, and when they're outside, they will have the opportunity to move around and they will not be seated at a desk. It is extremely unrealistic to think that a student in kindergarten or first grade, and probably even much older than that, will be sitting at a desk for the day. It's not, we don't do that when we had school before Corona, and we certainly will not do it moving forward. Someone asked a question about the decision not to open in person. So I'd like to ask either Rabbi Boswich or Rabbi Gutenberg to address how the decision was made about which group to open and how to open them.
Can I hear the question again?
Sure. How was the decision made not to open in person?
So the decision for kindergarten and first grade is to open in person. The other grades, which we'll discuss at the town halls for those particular grades, were based upon the safety of the teachers, the spacing, the safety of the students, the way that the disease is being spread currently, the medical committee's guidelines of walking through the school, as well as a stagger start to make sure that we get it right from the beginning. There are places that have opened fully and closed very quickly after that. And we are not looking to do that. We want to stay open in person for as long as possible. So the stagger start allows us to do that both from a safety and an operations perspective. We started with the younger grades rather than the older grades down because from our conversations last year with our families, as well as our surveys, that when we surveyed our families, our older grades got much more out of the remote learning than our younger grades. From the early childhood and kindergarten and first, it was more challenging for them than it was for the older grades. So those were the grades that we opened first, along with what the idea I mentioned earlier about the younger students being less likely to transmit the virus.
Thank you. I see there are a couple more questions that have come in. One question was asked about teacher training. So teachers have been given many opportunities to have training in not only Seesaw, but in any program that they're using in school this year. And I do appreciate what you've added, that the past year the teachers did a great job while trying to learn as it progressed. So we're trying to get ahead of that, and we're trying very much to anticipate the needs of the teachers so the teachers can anticipate the needs of the students. Also, Beth has been working with teachers one-on-one. They filled out questionnaires, like asking them what they feel most comfortable with and what they feel least comfortable with. And the teachers really have no problem coming to Beth because she is very approachable. And it's really important that you know that this is a learning curve for all of us, but I am confident that the teachers have really learned a lot and they really are not exactly at all where they were at the end of last year. They're there and even higher. Someone asked about face shields. The ruling for our school is masks. If Lynn or anyone else on the call would like to address that further, but I'm under the impression that that the face shields are not going to be used by students. The masks are what are going to be used. If anyone, Lynn or
I'll just add that we do have a large number of clear masks, which a lot of our younger teachers for the younger grades, early childhood, K-1, the way these masks work is that there's a piece over here, but they're clear on the mouth. So when our teachers are educating on the sounding of letters or when they're reading a book, they can put on these masks so that students can still see the pronunciation by the teachers. But the recommendation is that masks are more beneficial and safer than the shields.
Okay, I hope that answers it. Will kids need to be tested for COVID before starting school, and teachers? So I'm going to go back to Rabbi Gutenberg, if you could answer that question, please. Will teachers and or students need to be tested before school starts?
As of now, no. We are only if there are symptoms are we going to be testing students coming onto campus. Every single day we're going to be examining students, not a full medical procedure, but asking, taking their temperature and taking the staff temperature, making sure that they're complying with the regulations that we have inside the school as well as outside of school. But we will not, as of now, be testing COVID before school starts.
Okay, thank you. Let me just see. Okay, I'm going to ask that the teachers in kindergarten first be highlighted so you can see who they are. I'm going to introduce them to you. On the Judaic Studies side, we have Mora Lisi and Mora Shoshi in kindergarten. And in first grade, we have Mora Irit and Mora Noah. Mora Lisi, there she is. I'm not sure who that is. Mora Shoshi, hello there. That's our kindergarten team. Our first grade Judaic Studies team, Mora Irit and Mora Noah. We have our general studies, Katie, kindergarten. I think I'll wait to see the picture and then tell you who they are. Mora Galia, kindergarten. Mora Noah is actually second grade, but that's okay. We have two Mora Noahs, so that's good. Great to see you here, because you're also a parent coming into first grade. So it's very nice to see you. And we're looking for Perla. There she is, first grade, co-teaching with Caroline. And there she is. So you have just met the kindergarten and first grade team. I want to just remind you that we're working together. It's important that you know that. We may not be perfect, but we listen to feedback, and we will always work to improve what we have. We have an amazing staff. We have a robust program. We have all the elements for success, and now we'll have your children. So I want to thank you all for coming this evening. If there are no further questions, I'm going to ask you if you're interested in learning more about the AEP program, please stay on, and Rachel Lubitz will be here. I'll stay on a few minutes as well, and if any other staff would like to stay on, they're more than welcome, or anyone that would like to stay on. But I'm going to say this is the end of the K-1 Town Hall, and thank you all for coming this evening. Rachel Lubitz.
Hey everyone, can you hear me? All right, so I don't know if everyone on here wants to hear about AEP. Okay, so my name is Rachel Lubitz and I am the director of the Academic Enhancement Program. I am responsible for resource and enrichment in grades K through 12. And this coming year, things will look a little bit different for the Academic Enhancement Program. We'll be providing our service in K-1 physically on campus, where some teachers will be doing some things remotely with the students that are at home as well. We will have physical teachers on campus, and we'll also have some teachers off campus that will be working with the students remotely. The groups will be done in a small group setting. We hope to only have about 2 kids per teacher, and if we can, have 1 student per teacher. We're going to be working with students in Judaics, math, and language arts. Primarily, we're going to try to pull the students out of the classroom into a small group setting, so we can ensure that there's the social distancing there. And like I said, we're going to do very, very small groups. I think that's it. If there's any specific questions that anyone has in regards to K-1. Debbie, if you want to tell me if anyone's posting.
I don't see any questions in my chat.
Oh, I'm sorry. One other thing that I wanted to mention, I'm also responsible for ESOL, which is English as a Second Language. If your student is coming and English is not their first language, they'll be assessed at the beginning of the school year, and we'll be able to provide that service for them, as well as if your student is enriched in the area of math and they're in first grade, we will assess them at the beginning of the year. And as Mrs. Hamburg had mentioned earlier, Zaniac will be provided in a very small group setting virtually. Those instructors will not be coming onto campus due to social distancing, but we will be working with those teachers virtually. I will most likely be the proctor in the room, while they're working with those teachers. So if you want to hear more about that opportunity, please email me and I'll be happy to explain that to you.
Okay, thank you, Rachel.
And if there's any other questions, you guys can reach me at rleubitz, RLEUBITZ @rasp.org. And I'm always happy to answer any questions you may have. And I
Thank you.
look forward to welcoming everyone soon.
Okay, so I hope to either see you in person or see you virtually on August 24th, the very first official day of school. It's going to be different, but it's going to be very exciting. So I want to wish you all a very good evening. Thank you so much for coming, and have a great night.